Russian businessmen and the government have been expressed. We're primarily interested in reaching an agreement for civilian peace and accord and to defend each other's interests. Due to the level of secrecy in our country, we're still surprised by newest reports of businesses to their stockholders. Civilized relationships are played out in daily life. Today, the head of the Moscow Business Bank gave his financial report to the stockholders. Moscow Business Bank holds second place in the CIS for profitability among firms. This bank was formed to support entrepreneurs in the Russian Federation and has over 40 affiliates. Its hard currency accounts are held in over 21 banks around the world. However, the bank is characterized can be best described not by figures but not by words. The yearly balance is 28.5 billion rubles with a profit of 1,132 million rubles. However, it only offers an 8.60% on interest payments. Stockholders are interested in dividends, obviously. Other Moscow banks offer 20 or 30%. We believe that the bank should provide a foundation for future work, and we intend to create a reserve fund. Therefore, the majority of our profit will be diverted into this reserve fund. The reserve fund will act as a buffer zone, which will help clients to weather fluctuations in our unstable market. Among the 3,800 plus stockholders, 2,600 are private individuals. What do I need to buy stock? You need the desire, you need faith in our bank, and you need money. Today in Seoul, there were negotiations between the heads of major delegations from Russia and Korea, Andrei Kozyrev and Lee Sang-orka. The ministers were satisfied with the development of relations between the two countries, and the upcoming agenda will include Yeltsin's visit to Korea. The ministers plan to sign an agreement on friendship and cooperation between the two countries. The Iranian Ministry of Foreign Affairs denied reports that Iran had received nuclear weapons from Kazakhstan, according to the radio station German Wave. In Belgrade, a meeting on the deployment of UN troops to Yugoslavia was held. In the UN Security Council, there were discussions on sanctions against Libya. In Buenos Aires, March 7th, there was a powerful explosion which almost completely destroyed the Israeli embassy. 4 people were dead and there were over 100 wounded. Rescue work continues. The police believed that there was a bomb left in an automobile nearby the Israeli embassy. Along with our Argentinian intelligence sources, the CIA and other Tel Aviv intelligence sources are investigating. To nab the criminals, roads, naval, and air routes were blockaded. The Argentinian President Carlos Menem blamed the explosion on terrorists from other countries. Israeli Defense Minister Moshe Aarons ascribed the act as part of a campaign by Muslim and Palestinian terrorists. The PLO in Buenos Aires supposedly sponsored the attack in the Israeli embassy. George Bush and Bill Clinton were the overwhelming victors in the Illinois and Michigan primaries. They're practically guaranteed the nominations by the Republican and Democratic parties. In South Africa, the results of the referendum in the White Enclaves became known. Despite the aggressive campaign by the right, President de Klerk and his supporters of reforms won the overwhelming support of the majority of voters. Right hopes to receive the aid through the referendum victory were dashed. They had hoped for practically a social coup to refute social reforms and return the country to apartheid. President de Klerk, who turned 56 today, can now work more confidently with the victory of the Democrats in the referendum. As a result, many countries are now considering the full repeal of sanctions currently held against South Africa. And tomorrow's events. NATO Secretary Manfred Werner is off to Turkey to hold negotiations with President Özal and other officials. Mikhail Sorkin, our correspondent, gives the details. One of the major questions concerns the withdrawal of NATO troops from Central Europe, and successively the transfer of a large number of weapons to Turkey. Turkey's army will in particular receive 900 tanks, which is a result of an agreement signed a year and a half on troop reductions and a reduction of conventional weapons in Europe. NATO intends to deploy a significant portion of its forces and weapons to Asia, including Turkish territory. Modern technology will replace the outdated Turkish arms equipment. This is also connected to the need to reinforce NATO's south flank. According to reports from Brussels, more and more people are worried about the danger of the instability in the regions surrounding Turkey. The theme of negotiations also included the Azerbaijan-Armenian clashes in Nagorno-Karabakh. If the conflict spills onto Turkish territory, NATO will take action. During last week's meeting of the heads of NATO and the former socialist countries, other possibilities were mentioned. These forces may be placed under the jurisdiction of the Conference of Security and Cooperation in Europe. Observers said this came up during discussion of the Nagorno-Karabakh problem and the possibility of European participation in normalizing the situation. However, more news on the developments will only become clear after NATO secretaries' meetings in Turkey. And now, international news. The Bulgarian port of Varni, which is often a transitional port for goods, was the scene of a search for nuclear weapons today. According to the RTL radio station, former Soviet Army officers sold nuclear artillery shells to Iran. These should have been transported through Bulgaria. However, there was no success in locating the Soviet Army weapons, according to Bulgarian television. American warships, led by the aircraft carrier Independence, left Subic Bay today. Obviously, by the end of the year, the U.S. should leave the Philippines. However, this will not be a last goodbye. According to statements by President Corazon Aquino, the Pentagon intends to maintain access to ports and airfields of Subic Bay in case it is necessary to deploy troops in connection with a worsening of the situation there. Today, President of Haiti, Aristide, announced that he intends to return to Haiti within a few weeks. By the end of this week, as a constitutionally elected president, the question is whether or not he will be able to do this given the army control after the military coup. Aristide did not give news on this. The hot news of the day in Great Britain is a possible divorce of the Duchess of York and Prince Andrew, according to the Daily News. After a 6-year marriage, things may now come to the close. According to Reuters, the press has pictures of the Princess of New York with her Texas millionaire friend who spent the vacation with her. At this time, Prince Andrew, a naval officer, was on duty. In Mexico, pollution levels are down after emergency measures taken by city officials. Still, residents of the capital of Mexico prefer to jog with respirators. There was a powerful cyclone in Queensland, Australia. Winds reached up to 130 kilometers per hour. As a result, many areas were flooded after the heavy rains. MMM. These are the lowest ruble prices and a guarantee against any defects. Today, MMM products may be bought for rubles. Good evening. We're only a step away from the finals. Dutchman Johan Cruyff, coach of the Barcelona soccer team, announced before the match with the Kiev's Dynamo in the semifinals of the European Cup Championship. We haven't received much good news from European soccer competitions this spring. Only one former USSR soccer team, Kiev, made the March Cup tournament. Kiev Dynamo team theoretically has a chance with a victory in the Group B area to move into the finals. However, they have lost twice, the last time on their own field. The Bulgarian Christos Poland scored the first goal, if you remember, versus to beat Kiev. Today, Barcelona's team will probably be just as active. You can see the match tonight at 10:40 p.m. Each round of the U.S. tennis tournament brings new surprises. Boris Becker lost to Argentinian Albert Mancini. Andrei Cherkasev played well today, pushing out the Frenchman Piolina. Next, he will play versus the Swiss Jakub Klassenem.